How's it going, guys? Welcome to another video. Today we got some pretty exciting news for tomorrow's event, and it's gonna be a pretty good one, and it's gonna be a long one. So in this video we're gonna talk about it, tell you what you could be expecting, what you should be going for, all of that kind of good stuff, so you guys can get the most out of these amazing events that are about to come. Hope you enjoy the video, and if you do, a like and subscribe would be amazing. And what's also amazing is my download link, so if you want to start playing Raid the right way, use my download link from the description, and that's gonna get you started off with an amazing Legendary champion, as well as the top tier epic Ugo, and you're also gonna have a choice to pick one of these awesome legendary champions in your first 24 hours. You can watch my video about it if you want to make the right choice for you. Now, let's get into it. And here's the event I'm talking about, Sacred Summon Boost. It's gonna be a 2x, and we're also gonna be getting some pretty awesome champions with progressive events on each day. This is gonna be comboing off amazingly well with the Path of Spring, which is gonna be giving us a lot of fragments for the new fusion champion, as well as his 5-star soul. I did warn you guys that we are to be expecting something like this. It's already confirmed, look at this. This event is gonna give us 100 fragments, 5-star soul for the guy, as well as a bunch of other goodies, but as we all know, they're not gonna come cheap. Hopefully the soul is not gonna break the bank too much, but if you guys are actually capable of getting this soul, it's gonna be an amazing boost through your account, especially if you're in your first year of Raid, because having a 5-star ascended legendary Hydra specialist, that is not something you're gonna have plenty of. We're also gonna be getting 100 fragments for these bad boys, and we already saw this is going to be a champion chase plus dungeon diver event. Here, for anybody that forgot, Hero's Path will be with champion fragments, summon champions, plus get artifacts and accessories. So in Raid's language, summon champions should be champion chase, right? Doesn't sound like summon rush. If it says champions, it means champions are gonna be the ones that matter, so the more legendaries you open, the better. And also get artifacts and accessories, well, that's just dungeon divers. Some other content creators have said that they are thinking it's gonna be a summon rush, but that doesn't make sense because we already did have a summon rush a couple of days ago. So I really do believe this should be a champion chase instead, and what this means is this would be the perfect time to also fuse all of your fragment void epics, because that is a lot of points on its own. Like, when it's a normal tournament, that's 350 points, where a legendary normal non-void champion is 500, so very, very nice pile of resources. And it's also going to be a pretty nice time for you guys to be fusing up all sorts of champions with fragment summons. For me, I have myself Varl ready for whatever. I have a couple of these already. I also have a Lady Mikage ready to get fused if I really want to. Like, I have all of these nice and ready. But let's hope it doesn't come down to that. The problem with this Path of Spring is it's not exactly very free-to-play friendly. So if you're not well stacked for this, if you haven't prepared, if you haven't farmed Clan Boss as hard as you could to get yourself a nice amount of Sacred Shards, it's probably not going to be very doable for most, at least for the 5-star soul. But the rest I do believe should be very doable. Like, the fragments should be decently obtainable for most, with not that much summoning. But if you also want to get the soul, I'm assuming it's going to be something like 15, 20 sacreds total. That might be the ballpark, but if you have prepared some fusions to go with those, that shouldn't be too bad. I myself did some not very smart decisions, and I actually blasted through, like, what was it, 18 sacred shards on the CVC, but it was a pretty epic win for us. I carried our team pretty hard. Like, I ended up being almost 1 million CVC points, whereas the second guy was around 600. And we managed to steal the win in the last hour, which was pretty awesome, so I guess money well spent. But speaking of money well spent, I think about spending some money well as well. There are some pretty interesting offers in the shop right now. If you guys just want to drizzle a little bit of Sacred Shards, I'd say this one is actually pretty okay. It's a pretty standard offer, honestly. It's only 2 Sacreds for $40, and that's pretty much up par for what these offers are supposed to look like. But the one I'm actually eyeballing is this one. This one is actually pretty nice value. If you guys also want to check out my video about what are the best things you could be buying in Raid, you can definitely check out my video where I talk about the best offers Raid has to offer. And if you watch that video, you're gonna know that this is actually a lot cheaper than it's supposed to. Well, not a lot, but decently less expensive than it's supposed to. The free sacreds should be costing us $60 alone. The 5 voids, they usually cost 3 per, so that's $12, and 1 ancient is $1, so grand total of $82 for only $70. I would say is a pretty worth thing to be going for in raid, and I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is and actually gonna grab it a couple of times, because yeah, I really believe it is super worth it, and I'm gonna be very well prepared for what's about to come to raid. There's one, and now let's get one more, and there we have it. A couple of the big ones in the bag. Pretty nice stuff, and as I told you guys, I'm also pretty keen on getting as much primal shards as possible for the next time we have such a primal event, so I'm still gonna be buying the 1 primal per week. $5 for one primal is pretty okay value, like that is usually what the price for these goes, so I will be grabbing this one as well, and we probably will be doing a Sacred Shard opening when I decide I'm gonna be going for that kind of champion. And just like that, our inbox is very well populated with a lot of the good stuff. Anyway, the game is feeling a little bit laggy now, so I'm not gonna be dilly-dallying collecting all of these. We just know they're gonna be sitting there nicely. And who's also sitting there nicely for me is finally Ramantu. Finally got that bad boy. You probably saw from my latest Doom Tower guide video how we finally cleared the entire thing, and we are ready to collect this guy as well, who is a Void Legendary, so that's even more points for when the thing comes. Already spent enough, raid, chill. So yeah, what are the events I'm talking about? Tomorrow, as you saw, we're going to be having 2x on the Sacred, so that is amazing. This means we are going to have 12% chance for a Legendary champion out of each of those bad boys, so a very, very nice odds. And as soon as that thing starts, that is going to be comboed off with also progressive chance for a lot of amazing champions. The first ones are going to be from the Barbarians. We are going to get ourselves the Faction Unity champion, Gregor, who is definitely nothing to scoff at. Like, this bad boy definitely could make a very meaningful change to your account, especially if you have yourself a good amount of barbarians on your team. Like, I don't have any of these champions, so I don't really have too much insider knowledge how amazing these guys are, so I'm not going to be giving you too much of my opinion about them, but we can just go ahead and check what Hell Hades website is talking about, and we're seeing he is a 3.5 champ. He doesn't seem to be too amazing for right about anything aside from Magma Dragon, but ain't nobody got time for that. Like, imagine having troubles with Magma Dragon of all things. That's probably the easiest boss out there. So all around, he's not that hot according to the stats, but if you have plenty of barbarians, like a lot of us do have 5-star Ascended 4, some of us are lucky enough to have things like Odin, you might have actually some pretty nice ways of utilizing this bad boy. So yeah, going quickly through the skills, he's a defense-based champion. We can see his A1 is attacks one enemy, has 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn. Not the worst thing to have on an A1, I can tell you that much. As for the A2, attacks all enemies, decreases the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn, and increases the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn as well. So something like a Mikage. Also places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to 20% of this champion's max HP. Very nice for defense. And the A3 is Bestial Yell. Places a 50% increased attack and 50% increased accuracy. Not the best buffs out there, but what do we have with the Faction Unity stuff? Decreases the cooldown of all ally skills except this champion by 1 turn. We also have with 2 faction allies, fills the turn meter of all allies by 20%. And lastly, activates an instant turn effect on the ally with the highest crit damage except this champion. So if you actually have 3 other barbarians on your team, he is going to be giving all of this good stuff, not only on the barbarians, but on everybody else, as long as you have enough of the faction champions. It would be pretty brutal like that. And we also have pretty decent passive. One attack has 20% chance of placing a provoke debuff on the attacker for 1 turn, occurs once per hit. And we also have a bunch of extra goodies up down here. Allies deal 25% more damage to enemies under hard CC, it seems. If there are multiple champions, only one activates, yada yada. Faction allies ignore 50% of the target's resistance when applying the hard debuffs, and also faction allies, when counterattacking, instant effects and debuffs placed by ally skills cannot be resisted or blocked. Pretty good for a passive skill. All you need is 3 other barbarian dudes. And as for his passive, he increases ally defense by in all battles by 25%, and also for barbarians only, increases ally accuracy in all battles by 40. Not amazing, honestly, like some champions increase by 33 on the defense, other increase by 80 on the accuracy, so a little bit from both sides, I guess, but not super solid, I'd say. And we're also going to be getting Tahanarok as a Void Legendary champion for that day as well, for the 24 hours, and she is also quite the good one. She is a pretty nice speed support type of champion, and as you guys see, Hell Hades definitely rates her very, very well. 4.5, not many champions have this kind of stats. Obviously, a handful only has 5, so she is very close to being absolutely MVP, and you can see she is going to be an absolutely amazing champion for you, but the problem is there's no 2x on the Void, so I myself would be holding back on the Voids, if I gotta be honest. I would much rather just go for the Sacreds and try and get lucky with some of that 2x chances. But yeah, if you are gonna be pulling Voids just for the sake of doing extra points on the path, I cannot blame you if you pull in for Tahanarok. Those are going to be the champions for Thursday, so be on the lookout for those if you want to be pulling your shards for those. On Friday, however, we're moving to Ogrins, and here we are starting off with Vizig the Noxious. And Hell Hades have him rated over at 4 stars, so definitely nothing to scoff at, that's for sure. So as you guys know, we are going to be getting the hard faction wars really soon, so if you guys think this would be helping you out in those pieces of content, that might be something worth considering, but I think that would be a lot of end game player decisions some of you might have to be making, so for most this is not going to be something that big of a deciding factor. The Noxious is, as you see, pretty decent on a lot of places. 5-star on Hydra, pretty good on Clan Boss. Kind of a shame we don't have stats for Chimera here, but he's good on Hydra and Clan Boss. He's probably not too bad on Chimera either, if you need something along those lines. Like, he does have poisons, HP burns, so definitely sounds pretty decent for Chimera if you ask me. Increased accuracy helps big time over there. So yeah, I do believe he would be a nice champion for a lot of people's roster. Going over the skills of Vizig, the Noxious, we can see on the A1, attacks all enemy, has 35% chance of instantly activating any poison and HP burn debuffs on each enemy. Goes up to 50, so pretty decent for an A1, since it's also attacking all enemies, can't say no to that. On the A2, attack all enemies again, has a 75% chance of placing 2 5% poison debuffs and a HP burn debuff for 2 turns. Books out the 100, so pretty awesome for a 3-turn cooldown. All enemies, landing both poisons and HP burns, pretty sick stuff. And on the A3, attacks all enemies. Before attacking, place 50% increased accuracy buff on all allies for 2 turns, then increases the duration of all enemy debuffs by 1 turn. Also decreases the duration of all ally debuffs by 1 turn, so again, pretty decent stuff. Both for you and the opponent, the debuffs are going to be going on the right direction for you. If we have one faction ally, places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns, so this should be pretty easily done. With 2 faction allies, increase the duration of all enemy debuffs by 2 turns instead, and decreases the duration of all ally debuffs by 2 turns instead as well. And with 3, you're going to be healing all allies by 5% of this champion's max HP, heals them by additional 2%, stacks up to 50 for every enemy debuff that has its duration increased, and every ally debuff that has its duration decreased by this skill. Damn, that's quite a lot. And we also have a neat little passive. Increases each ally's accuracy by 10% for each HP burn and poison debuff on the enemy team. With one Ogren on the team next to him, HP burn and poison debuffs placed by allies deal 30% more damage. Damn. Increased damage dealt by allies by 5% for each HP burn and poison debuff on the target, which is also pretty huge, honestly. And on the last, with all 3 extra Ogrens on the team, HP burn and poison debuffs placed by allies cannot be removed, stolen, or transferred. And as for this guy's aura, he increases ally HP by 30% and also 15% for Ogrins only on the speed. Pretty good champion, not gonna lie. Maybe I would be going for something like this, even though I'm not exactly sure where I will be using him, because, yeah, like, faction unity champions are kind of hard to build around. You gotta basically have a good set of champions next to them, so there's that too. The other Ogren tribe champion here would be Grazur, and as you see, he is a frickin' 5-star champion according according to Hell Hades, so definitely a very, very worthy contender for your voids. And he is indeed 5-star for Clan Boss, for Hydra, all of that good stuff, all of the harder pieces of content. He will be helping you big time. He's amazing for all sorts of different dungeons. Shogun Grow 5-star, all sorts of amazing stuff. He's even usable in Arena apparently, even though I have not really seen him over there. He does have a nice little provoke, so no wonder he's super nice on the Hydra. Probably not so hot on Chimera if you ask me, but all around not a bad champion to be having on your team, so this would be on Friday. Moving down to Saturday, we are going to be getting a bunch of the Undead Horde champions, with the faction champion Tribune Heraclides. Nailed it, probably, I don't know. And he is sitting at a 4-star. I think he was a pretty decent nuker, but as you see, he's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. We can't see any actual 5-stars on the important pieces of content, at least. For Arena, I have not seen this guy a single time on Arena, so I don't know about that, but apparently he's decent there. With Tribune, we already saw he's a defense-based champion. On the A1, attacks one enemy, places a True Fear debuff on the target for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be resisted or blocked if this champion is dead. Okay, I don't remember how this one did stuff, but we're about to find out real soon. If this champion is dead, also heals all allies by 20% of this champion's max HP. On the A2, attacks one enemy, will ignore 100% of the target's defense. If the target was killed, revives a random dead ally with 50% HP and 50% turn meter. If the target was killed and there are no dead allies, reset the cooldown of the target's skill instead. Kinda cool as well. And on the A3, it's quite the novel again, as with all of these faction unity champions. Attacks all enemies, destroys the max HP of all enemies by 10%, places a shield buff on this champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is equal to the total amount of all enemies destroyed max HP. And with 1 faction ally, the shield buff placed by this skill cannot be removed. With 2, instantly activates this skill whenever this champion is revived. And with 3, will ignore a portion of each target's defense. The amount of defense ignored is equal to the percentage of each target's destroyed max HP. Yeah, his A3 definitely smacks, and being able to do it again, kinda busted. And on the passive, whenever this champion is revived, increases the damage inflicted by this champion by 20%. Stacks up to 200. With 1 faction, this champion is immune to block revive debuffs. That's pretty strong for a champion like this. With 2 faction allies receive 20% less damage if this champion is dead. And with 3, whenever this champion is dead and an ally attacks an enemy, this champion will join that attack using their default skill. So basically that's what this whole A1 was about. The True Fear cannot be resisted if this guy is attacking with the 3 faction allies passive activation. We also have a nice little aura on him with increased ally defense in all battles by 30%, and also increased ally crit rate in all battles by 20%, but it only applies to undead hordes. Increased crit rate is kind of a niche little extra bonus this guy is getting, because a lot of time you're just going to build your champions with 100 crit rate anyway. But I guess if you really want to be min-maxing for some piece of content, you could just build him with 80 and spend the other resources elsewhere. I guess he would be pretty amazing on long forms of content like Hydra, Chimera, Clan Boss, but he is all around mainly just very big damage dealers. And the other champion we're going to be getting is the Void Legendary Necret the Great. And yeah, this guy is definitely great. I did have the luxury of opening this guy pretty early on my account, and to be fair, I haven't really been using him to his full potential. Right now I'm only using him in a 3v3 arena to somewhat good use, but I should really do him justice and rebuild him nicely, so he does a lot more than that. And as you see, he's actually pretty good in dungeons even. I always took him as a arena specialist kind of deal, but apparently he's not that bad as a straight up support champion for your glass cannons too, so there's that, I guess. Like, look at all of these 5 stars, decent in Clan Boss even. That kind of stuff. I would not be bringing him in Chimera, however. And on the last day, we are gonna have Admiral Blacktusk. This is the Dwarfs Unity champion, and again, this guy's a 4.5, definitely nothing to sneeze at over there. He's a support champion, pretty decent in Clan Boss, okay in Hydra, top tier in Fire Knight, both normal and hard, Iron Twins, that kind of stuff. So if you're having issues with those, he might be worth considering indeed. And with Admiral Blacktusk, as we said, he's a support champion. On the A1, he attacks one enemy, has 40% chance of placing a stun debuff for one turn. This debuff cannot be resisted when this champion is attacking out of their active turn. Also on the A2, we have remove all debuffs from all allies, then teams up with all allies to attack a single enemy. The allies joining the attack will use their default skill, not the worst thing to have. Ally attack like this, also with remove debuffs. Very, very decent. On the A3, removes all debuffs from a target enemy and places a stun debuff on them for 2 turns. Fill the champion's turn meter by an additional 10% for each buff removed from the target. So this can be pretty decent against well-buffed champions, I guess. And for the faction unity stuff, with one ally, the buff removal and stun debuff cannot be resisted. Pretty busted for against supports with 900-1000 resistance on arena. This guy would be a monster against those. He also resets the cooldown of this skill whenever an enemy is killed while under a stun debuff placed by this champion. That's kinda awesome. With 2 faction allies and with 3 allies deal double damage to targets under stun. Debuffs placed by this champion. Kinda broken. As for the aura, he increases ally accuracy in all battles by 60 and increases ally speed in all battles by 15, only for dwarves however. Not the best out of the lot I'd say, but kinda decent. So yeah, all around not a bad champion to be having on your team for sure, but the choice is yours if you're gonna be pulling for this one. And last we have Arnorn the Shining, and this bad boy is a pretty huge deal in Arena, I can tell you that much. He is very hard to deal with his nasty passive, reviving him with Stone Skin and smacking everybody. Not a very fun thing to be facing, I can tell you that much. But as for PvE pieces of content, he's nothing to write home about for the most part. Doom Tower, Spider, both normal and hard, and Dragon, and that's really about it. So wouldn't be breaking my back to be building him for those pieces of content. I would go hard for him on Arena, because he is really an Arena specialist. His skills are not bad at all. Attacks one enemy 2 times, damage increases by 5% for each buff on the target. Each hit has a 35 chance of placing a stun as well, which books out to 50, so basically 50-50 each shot, so you should be stunning more often than not. Glimmer Force is also pretty good. Attack one enemy 2 times. The damage inflicted by this skill increases by 10% for each 10% HP this champion has lost. If the target is under 2 or more buffs, will also ignore 35% of the target's defense, grants an extra turn if this attack kills an enemy. It has godlike damage rating, so should be pretty strong. As an attack-based nuker, sounds pretty decent. And last but not least, attacks all enemies, will ignore increased defense, strengthen, and shield buffs. If this attack kills at least one enemy, decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 50%. This effect cannot be resisted. Pretty broken if you ask me. And the really broken thing is the Golden King. Passive increases this champion's attack by 5% for each active buff on the enemy team, stacks up to 100, and the active effect is prevent this champion's death and keep them alive on 1 HP when hit by a fatal hit. Place a Stone Skin buff on the enemy on them for 1 turn, then instantly activate the Wrath of What's-His-Face skill, and this will also not place it on cooldown. If there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, the effect will only activate once. Pretty broken, I can tell you that much. Basically, you can't even block revive this guy because he just doesn't die, so I guess a decent way of actually killing this guy would be with something like a block passive skills or some nonsense like that, but not very many champions have access to something like that. Off the top of my head, Ronda does, and I think some other newer mythicals also got it, but I can't remember who exactly right now. So yeah, all around an absolute unit of a champion for PvP, but alas, it is again gonna be from the Void Shards. So yeah guys, that's gonna be all of the amazing events we're gonna be seeing all weekend from starting from tomorrow, Thursday, while the 2x is going on the Sacred Shards. Definitely a pretty nice time for you to be pulling those, so be on the lookout. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure who I should be pulling my Sacred Shards for. I'm very low on good Ogryn legendary champions and such, so I'm not sure I should be going for that in terms of faction unity. To be fair, I'm pretty stacked on the barbarians, like I have some pretty solid barbarians, but as you saw, Gregor is kind of low rated, at least according to Hell Hades, so there's that. With Undead Hordes, I do have a decent chunk of champions, but I'm still missing some pretty important ones like Rhodos, like Siphi, like Death Knight and so on, so I'm not really sure if that's gonna do all that much for me. And with dwarfs, I do have a fair bit of them, but honestly not that much. It's literally just 5, it's just that they're not that many dwarves, I guess. So, I don't know. Like, honestly, according to my roster, I'm probably supposed to be pulling tomorrow. But I'm really not sure. I'm really not sure. Do let me know in the comments what you guys think. Like, who do you think I should be pulling for? Because I'm not exactly sure. Kinda from the way my roster is looking, I'd probably get the most out of Gregor. I'm probably gonna be able to build some nasty stuff with amazing champions like Thor, like Nargigante Archer, like Odin, that kind of stuff. So I will be able to actually get the faction unity stuff. Maybe I'll be able to build some amazing siege team, because a lot of these champions are amazing for PvP. Like I am using Thor and Odin on all of my live arenas. Freya is no joke over there, so maybe a Gregor up there might also do the trick. Do let me know, I'm genuinely asking. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, a like and subscribe would really be awesome, and don't forget you can download raids from my download link to get started in the game with a lot more awesome champions. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris05, and I'll see you in my next video, or stream.